Welcome to another edition of The Ride Home with John and Kathy, live from the Salem-Pittsburgh studios. And now here are your hosts, John Hall and Kathy Emmons.
A couple of years ago, a friend of mine gave me one of these light boxes. He had upgraded to a new light box.
You mean for seasonal affective disorder?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've never once used that thing. I'm going home tonight. I'm plugging that baby in. Fire it up.
Are you?
Seriously. I need that thing. What? Is this the longest it's been without any sun?
Yeah, it's been a really long time, but it's better that it snowed, don't you think?
A little bit.
It's brighter.
I felt better coming downstairs this morning.
When I woke up this morning, I thought, oh, well, that's a very pretty snow.
Yeah. But look at that sky. It's like, it feels endless. It's been at least a week. Don't you think?
It seems like it's been a month. I know, I'm sure that's not true.
It's a long time.
But it seems like it's been a month.
I'm never really bothered much by it. Today I'm a little wacky. I'm blaming that.
But we have a lot to look forward to, Lexi, then, over the next 2 hours.
I suppose so.
We need some sunshine, do we not?
Yes,
Turn
we
on
really
the sun.
do
Holy
need some
smokes.
sunshine. But I'm telling you, it's so much better with snow on the ground. You don't think it is?
It's okay.
Oh, I think it's
Not
a lot.
Really. Not
I think
that
it's
much.
a lot
Maybe like
better
10% better.
I think it's a lot better.
That's what I'm saying. The good news is today's National Pie Day?
Yes, it is. We're going to be discussing pie. A couple different stories on pie. One a local story, and one a national story on the most popular pies ranked in order. It was a survey done by one of the. Who are the frozen pie people? Mrs. Field. No, Mrs. Field. No. You know who I mean. You know what I mean. It's one of those frozen pie companies.
Stouffer's?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Anyway, we're going to talk about that in the 5 o'clock hour.
We've never talked to Lexi about pie before.
No. Lexi, do you like pie?
I do like pie. And are you talking about Marie Callender, maybe?
Yeah.
That lady.
Miss.
No.
That's a very good guess, but that's not who I was talking about. Isn't there a
Is
Mrs.
there a lady?
Fields?
No, that's cookies. That's chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, you're right. It is chocolate chip cookies. I mean, it's for late.
But it's probably
I'm not. My brain isn't in the second hour yet.
because there's no sun out there. It's
Right,
like
'cause
everything's upside down.
I'm vitamin D deficient.
Seriously.
Lexi, what kind of pie?
Pumpkin pie. That's why I
Pumpkin.
love Thanksgiving.
Pumpkin pie. Favorite pie is pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
Apple?
Not really, honestly. I'm not big on apple pie.
Cherry?
I don't like a lot of the fruit pies.
Lemon meringue?
Absolutely not.
Coconut cream?
Okay, maybe I don't like pie as much as I thought I
Exactly.
did.
That's the problem right there.
All of a sudden, I'm getting angry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I do like a good apple pie, but if I'm going for a pie, it's going to be like a pecan pie or or a pumpkin pie for sure.
Okay.
Does McDonald's still sell those little pie things?
Oh, those at least have like the cherry and
They
the
were like
apple.
volcanic, hot inside.
Right. Peach.
Remember
right?
those things?
You'd be like damaged for months.
I used to like those. Like a little pie in a pocket
so did
is what
I.
it was. Yeah.
Oh,
I wonder if
yeah.
they still sell those. Maybe I'll go home, turn the light on, and have a little piece of pie.
You think that'll help?
Couldn't hurt.
Yeah, I don't
at this point, holy smokes.
a good
Nothing
point.
could hurt at this point. Anyway, news stories for the day.
Oh, hey, good news.
Tell me.
The pie segment is at 4:50, so it's in this hour.
Oh, good. In case you were wondering about that.
Yeah.
I was a little anxious about the pie segment.
See,
I wasn't sure.
I don't want people to be tuning in the 5 o'clock hour and just
Where's the
experience
pie?
extreme disappointment.
I mean, I cut the pie segment at the top of the show.
The pie conversation.
Been waiting. You've been teasing the pie thing all day long. I wish could we give away a pie? Wish we knew somebody who had like a pie place. Could we dive into that?
You know,
Right.
There is that. Let's not say their name, but the place that has been giving us pies they haven't been giving it to us.
What?
But someone has been stopping at that particular
Oh, that's
location.
Diane.
Yeah.
Diane's been doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's a very good chocolate pie they have there.
The cherry pie was delicious. I was disappointed. I had one piece for the Christmas little party. Came back the next day, it was all gone.
Yeah, but
I thought I
here's
was
the
doing
thing.
dibs on that.
I know, but it was hiding in the back of the refrigerator.
What happened?
Sorry. It's not my fault. I mean, but I'm sorry to give you that bad
Anyways, all
news.
right. No pie, no sunshine. It's a Monday edition of the Ride Home. Without further ado, Kath, please give us the top 4 at 4.
For Monday, January 23rd, 2023, number 1. Monterey Park, California residents in disbelief and incredible sadness after 11 people killed in a mass shooting at the Star Ballroom Dance Studio Saturday night as people were celebrating the Lunar New Year. Many of those at the dance studio were Chinese seniors who were having fun socially dancing at the studio.
A Chinese senior is the guy.
So Did you know that there was a 2019 Oscar-nominated documentary about that dance studio?
No.
Called Walk, Run, Cha-Cha. Yeah. The suspect in the shooting was found dead Sunday of a self-inflicted gunshot wound in the van he used to flee after being prevented from attacking another dance club, according to authorities who identified him as a 72-year-old man whose motive remains unclear. It's just heartbreaking. Speaking of heartbreaking, John, number 2, violence among children has soared across the country since 2020, a stark reversal of a decades-long decline in juvenile crime. In the U.S., homicides committed by juveniles acting alone rose 30% in 2020, while those committed by multiple juveniles increased 66%. I mean, we're seeing that right here in Pittsburgh.
We sure do.
Right?
Daily.
The number of killings committed by children under 14?
What?
The highest in 2 decades. Police, prosecutors, and community groups, according to an article in today's Wall Street Journal, say that they attribute much of the youth violence to broad disruptions that started with the pandemic and lockdowns. Also, easier access to firearms for juveniles has played a role, the rise of homemade ghost guns, and a surge in illegal firearms trafficking. You should read the story in the Wall Street Journal. It's really humbling. Anyway, there's a story about 14-year-old Kaya Marshall who talks about the changes she saw, John, in her friends in her West Philadelphia neighborhood during COVID. She said her friends became less able to cope with conflict. They were lashing out over really small disputes. With less to do, she said a lot of people drifted into social media circles where guns and crime were glamorized. Unbelievable. Number 3. And a piece in today's Trib highlights the difficulties the pandemic added to the process of adoption. The biggest factor in the decline of adoptions, apparently, is a drop in birth rates during the initial phase of the pandemic. While the births declined, the desire for children among prospective adoptive parents didn't. And so there was, a
reversal.
There was a lot of people who wanted children, and there weren't children to be had. So you can check out that article by Jeff Himmler in the Trib. And number 4, after horrid reviews and box office bloodbaths, the Razzie Awards have been announced for today. Those include Worst Picture and Worst Actor for the year 2022.
See, that always makes me feel bad.
I know it does.
Because you don't go out of your way to make a bad film or, be a bad actor.
Yeah. It's the Golden Raspberry Awards. They're voted on by roughly 1,000 members of moviegoers and those in the film industry who pick what they deem the most dreadful that the cinema had to offer. The winners will be announced on March 11th, the night before the Oscars. And that is your top 4 at 4.
Right.
Do you want to know the Worst Picture nominations?
Yeah.
Blonde.
I haven't seen it. It's on Netflix. I haven't seen it.
Pinocchio.
What? That's a great film. I saw that in the theater. Worst Picture. That person's...
Good Morning.
Good Morning.
Mourning. I don't know it.
I don't either.
The King's Daughter.
I don't know.
And Morbius.
I don't know.
Okay.
Again, I mean, you don't go out of your way to try to make a bad picture, do you?
No, of course you don't.
And the people that's Guillermo del Toro, Pinocchio. It's a fabulous movie.
It was also nominated for Worst Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel.
They don't know what they're talking about. People are just crazy. I feel bad. It's easy to be a critic.
Of course it's easy to be a critic.
Everyone can point the finger,
right.
Oh, that's bad. And then you just crush people. I don't think Guillermo del Toro's too concerned about the Razzies.
I don't think he probably is.
He's not. Okay, a Monday edition. First guest always, we go to the White House. Greg Clugston joins us live next.
101.5 WORD.
I won! Yes!
And we want you to win too. So sign up to receive our contests and sweepstakes update. Each Friday, you can see new opportunities to win. We regularly give out prizes from books, music, and merchandise to household items, even vacation trips or car payments. Stay up on all the fun. Subscribe to our contests and sweepstakes update, mailed each Friday.
Sign up today at wordfm.com/subscribe.
If you're with Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, you're paying too much for your wireless service. Because Pure Talk gives you the exact same 5G coverage as one of those big carriers on the exact same network, but saves the average family over $800 a year. And Pure Talk doesn't lock you into an overpriced, unlimited data contract. Why pay for data you don't need? Instead, get unlimited talk, text, and 6 gigs of data for just $30 a month. And switching is so easy. You can keep your phone and keep your number, or Or get huge discounts on the latest iPhones and Androids. So what are you waiting for? Start saving today. Go to puretalk.com, type in your address to find the coverage at your home, then enter promo code HALFOFF, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. That's puretalk.com, promo code HALFOFF. Pure Talk is simply smarter wireless.
This message is for anyone looking for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Even if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or are taking anxiety meds. Here's an example. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe overweight with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost about $200 a month. We're Term Provider, experts in finding affordable term life insurance for those that may not be in perfect health. If you've had prostate cancer, heart conditions, high cholesterol, or are on prescription medications, you may still qualify for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Get a quick quote right now by visiting termprovider.com. That's termprovider.com, or simply call Term Provider at 800-333-1750. If you're looking for term life insurance but have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or have other health issues, call Term Provider at 800-333-1750. That's 800-333-1750.
Cornerstone Television Network has been sharing the gospel through Christ-centered TV for over 43 years. In 2023, our mission remains the same, but we can't wait to share with you how we're shifting to reach the next generation. Watch Visions of Hope with Keenan Bridges, Coy Barker, Eric Butler, Robert Jeffress, and Candace Smithyman. Tune in January 23rd through 27th, 8 p.m. on Cornerstone Television. That's Verizon Fios Channel 505 or Channel 805 on Comcast Xfinity.
There's more classified secrets floating around this country than there are popcorn kernels. Greg Clugston is with us, White House correspondent from SRN News. Greg, welcome back. How you doing today? Happy Monday.
Oh, Greg, can you hear us? No.
I can hear you now.
Oh, great. Terrific.
Excellent.
Hi, Greg. Nice to see you.
Yeah, good.
Hi.
Okay. John made a little joke coming in.
Little. Small.
I missed it.
It was disappointing.
Sorry. I'm not going to say it again. It wasn't that funny.
It was disappointing you didn't laugh, to be honest. Anyway, the point is, everyone's forgotten what classified means, apparently.
What's the deal?
I mean, what is going on?
Everyone's got classified, right?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because this is something that the White House thought maybe last week was starting to be tamped down a little bit, and then of course we learned over the weekend that on Friday the FBI spent about 13 hours at the president's Wilmington, Delaware residence, his private home, going through desk drawers, filing cabinets, what have you, and ended up finding and recovering 6 additional documents that had classified markings. And so we just got back from the hour-long press briefing here at the White House upstairs, and dominated, not surprisingly, by more questions about documents, the president's handling or supposed mishandling of these papers and documents, and the press secretary taking a very firm line in essentially not answering any of the questions and referring them to the White House legal counsel. So you understand that the White House counsel is going to be taking, very specific legal questions, but Karine Jean-Pierre wouldn't even take questions about, for example, how has the president demonstrated his seriousness in handling such documents, which he says he takes very seriously, and she simply didn't have an answer. So this is not going away. It remains to be seen whether there is any sort of legal jeopardy here for the president, but in the meantime, it certainly is a political headache for this White House.
No doubt, especially coming on the heels of Donald Trump and his cachet of documents at Mar-a-Lago. One does not equate the other, which is what, of course, we're hearing, but it has become quickly a political battle, Republicans versus Democrats, and missing documents. So I'm just kind of curious, Greg. I mean, in looking at whether it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump, it would seem then, if that's the truth about the last 2 presidents, that most presidents, although I don't know how anyone can really sort of answer this question, that most presidents in one form or another are leaving office with some sort of classified documents.
That seems to be an open question and a real possibility, John, in terms of When boxes of papers and documents get scooped up at the end of a presidential term, they get moved to either a library or at least initially to an office location or even a personal residence of a then former president. That it's very possible that this has happened in the past, that we are simply unaware of having happened. Now, having said that, it's interesting because you've got Republicans, of course, and you mentioned this has become a political issue, which it certainly has become. You've got the Republican chairman of the House Oversight Committee saying they would like to see Secret Service visitor logs at the president's residence. For example, to see in Delaware, when he spends a weekend there, who's coming to see him. He never stops becoming the president, even though he leaves the White House and goes to his private house. That's the argument that the Republican members are saying we want to see who may have had access or influence, or just kind of piece the puzzle pieces together here. Of course, there's a political element to that sort of request or demand from the Republican House Oversight Committee as well. So we're not going to. This isn't going to go away anytime soon. And it's also interesting to learn over the weekend that some of those documents that were recovered last Friday from the president's Delaware home date back not just to his days as vice president, but to his Senate office days, which goes, of course, back even further.
Well, in a moment of sanity, I saw a poll that was released by CBS News this morning saying that over half of Americans had a problem with both Trump and Biden handling classified documents poorly. So at least we're putting our partisanship aside and saying clearly nobody on either side knows what they're doing with the stuff that matters.
Right. I'm sorry, Kathy.
Please,
a question along those lines came up at the briefing. A poll saying that the majority of Americans don't think this is obviously a good thing, and unhappy with Biden's handling of that. And again, that was a question the White House press secretary, clearly not a legal question, but a question about trustworthiness, about that kind of aspect of the presidency, and she didn't bite.
Right. I would say that both Biden and Trump should be asked the question, does this spark joy? Because Maria Kondo, right? There's just a little too much clutter going on in people's houses.
You got to clean it out.
Does this spark joy? It doesn't spark joy for anybody right now. I'll tell you that. What the heck?
Now, see, that's a John Hall comment I can laugh
there
about.
We go.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah.
You can just imagine tonight what you missed earlier.
Funny stuff.
Greg Clugston with us, SRN News White House correspondent. Now, when Trump's when people were digging around, or when the FBI, I shouldn't say people, FBI digging around the closet in Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence, find the classified documents, the Dems are rejoicing, right? They're thinking, oh my gosh, this is great.
We've got this guy.
Right. We're finally going to take him down. We're going to pursue charges, all of that. Now that it's come out, all the news about Biden, have the Democrats quieted down? Is there just like a lot of silence on the blue side, or what's happening?
Lots of humility.
Yeah, I think there was initial silence, and we're now starting to hear a little bit more. Like, for example, over the weekend on the Sunday talk shows yesterday, you had somebody like Dick Durbin, who is a veteran, longtime member, Democratic member of the U.S. Senate, and he said that Biden should be embarrassed by this situation.
Sure, yeah.
And so there is this criticism that's starting to bubble up among even Democrats, because they understand a political problem for the Democratic White House is potentially a political problem for them as a party generally, and for lawmakers in Congress as well. So they understand the potential political ramifications here, but they also know that this is just something they want to have a little bit of distance from as well. Now, they go on to say, some of these Democrats, Durbin and others, saying, look, the White House appears to be, and the president is cooperating with the Justice Department, with these FBI searches. That search last Friday, for example, the White House is emphasizing was a consensual agreement between the Justice Department and President Biden, and they draw a distinction between how the National Archives and the Justice Department was able to recover those documents from Mar-a-Lago, which came after a lot of back and forth and refusal by Trump and his team to provide access to that. So they are different situations, but the Democrats are beginning to perk up a little more and share their feelings, and they have been critical in the last 24 hours.
Yes. Live from the White House, we're speaking with Greg Clugston, who is the SRN News White House correspondent. Greg, 2 years into the Biden administration, the news is we're hearing that a new chief of staff is coming on board. Please tell us about that.
Right. Nothing official has been announced by the White House yet, but there have been numerous reports from various news and media organizations and officials who have refused to be named because they're not, allowed to talk about such personnel matters just yet ahead of an official announcement. They have confirmed essentially that Ron Klain, who has been the chief of staff for the first 2 years of the Biden administration, is preparing to leave his post here in the coming weeks. It is no secret here in Washington that one of the toughest jobs in this city is White House chief of staff. I've heard it described as a meat grinder kind of position. There's a lot that goes through that office, as you might imagine, not just dealing with the internal White House staff here at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, but then also working with the Congress on key pieces of the president's legislation. And so Ron Klain has been a very close and trusted aide. We're hearing that he's simply burned out because it is a kind of job that does burn people out. In fact, lasting 2 years is longer than the average tenure of a White House chief of staff. So there doesn't appear to be any problem in terms of that. In fact, there's been relatively little turnover of major positions in this administration, including in the president's cabinet. So he is overseen as the White House chief of staff a very cohesive team over the last 2 years for Joe Biden. And we're hearing that Jeff Zients, and again, nothing official, but we're hearing that Jeff Zients is going to be the replacement. He's somebody that maybe people remember from a couple of years ago at the beginning of this administration. He was helping coordinate the administration's response to COVID-19 and getting shots in arms and all of that. So he is somebody who has been a part of this administration, and the president apparently has selected him to follow Ron Klain.
Very good. I mean, the good news is once you ascend to the White House chief of staff and you go through the 2 years of burnout, you will now go into some sort of corporate or think tank position, and life will be much better.
Possibly. Ron Klain has been in and out of past administrations, Democratic administrations, and so, yeah, he may, in fact, go back to, a private sector position, and what lies ahead for him, we don't know, and we're still waiting for that official announcement.
I see.
All right. He'll probably land pretty well. Greg, before you leave us, let's talk about the debt limit battle in Congress. I mean...
So your credit card.
Right. Not my personal debt limit. The numbers used to be, reserved for, astronomers to discuss huge,
trillions and trillions.
Yeah, but now we're talking about it with money. Talk about where we are with this and what people on both sides of the aisle are saying.
So you have Republicans, especially on the House side now, with the new majority, very slim majority, and the House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, saying that they are not going to agree to vote in favor of increasing the debt ceiling, the debt limit in this country, unless there are some trade-offs and some other budgetary moves to reduce spending. What's interesting is that the 3 times this issue came up during the Trump administration, Republicans and Democrats in a bipartisan way voted 3 times without conditions to increase the debt ceiling during, as I mentioned, during Trump's administration. And now with Republicans in control of the House, McCarthy and his team, they're simply saying we're not going to play by those same rules. The White House says this is non-negotiable. We're talking about the credibility of the United States financial system, and also this discussion often leaves out what the definition of the debt ceiling or the debt limit is. This limit, we have reached our limit as of last Thursday as a country. The obligations that have already been made in terms of expenditures by the federal government. And so a lot of people, when they hear this argument, they think, oh, Congress simply wants to spend more money. And while that's typically true in budget negotiations, this is just simply to cover what has already been obligated by the federal government. It's not specifically new funding. And so that's going to be an ongoing back and forth. And even though we've reached our limit as of late last week, the Treasury Department says that they can take some extraordinary steps and budgetary moves to delay any sort of default by the United States for several weeks, if not several months. So my guess is this is going to stretch into the spring, maybe the summer, before there's any sort of resolution.
Interesting. Robbing Peter to pay Paul, so they say.
That's right.
Yes, Greg, before you leave us, might you have any George Santos tidbit?
Well, besides his fondness of wearing sweaters, I guess, up on Capitol Hill, this is something that Republicans, we were talking earlier about, hey, are Democrats, are they speaking up about, Biden and his classified documents? And we're hearing from a few of them. And there's been a lot of silence from Republican leadership about Santos and the fabrications, if not outright lies, about his past work history and other matters as he was running for and winning his congressional seat in the House. And here he is, a member of Congress assigned to a couple of committees. There are some Republicans now starting to speak out about it here in Washington, as well as back in his home district in New York. Yeah. And this is sort of it's become sort of a punchline here, but it does raise kind of some serious questions about, representatives in the U.S. Congress.
And integrity.
Right. Yeah. And the fact that he misrepresented himself to his bosses, the people who elected him.
What the heck? It's a heck of a story.
All right, let's end on a happy note, though. I don't know if it is a happy note, but we haven't seen the sun here in Pittsburgh, Greg, in about...
Two weeks.
Yeah, probably 2 weeks.
Seriously, no exaggeration.
Yeah, we're not even kidding. And so John's considering buying a light box just so he can increase his vitamin D levels. Have you ever used a light box, Greg, and do you have any recommendation for John?
Well, no, I've never used one. I know what they are, and I know that it does provide comfort and help for people who, especially this time of year in the winter, who might live in locations where they really do need that.
Need a little something.
I can't give any brand name recommendations, but
you'd endorse.
I'd avoid the tanning booth, though.
Yeah.
The tanning booth.
Okay, but you would endorse John's pursuance of such a thing.
Yeah.
Sure, I don't see any downfall there. Unless Kathy, you can point something out.
Well, I haven't thought of anything yet, but I'm certainly going to give it my best shot.
Just kind of moody. That's all. Just avoid the moodiness of John. That's all. That's what she's saying.
I think it'd be better
I would think that would improve.
Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah. Greg, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for being game. We appreciate your update on the goings on in the nation's capital. Thanks so much.
Good to talk to you, Greg.
Bet. Take care. Bye.
Our pleasure. Greg Clugston, SRN News, White House correspondent. Information by Greg and Salem Radio Network, wordfm.com. Greg Clugston.
The bigger your 401k, the better your retirement, right? Wrong. The fact is, with proposed new taxes, another market crash, inflation, and rising healthcare costs, you could be forced to downsize your retirement. Discover the secret savvy investors are turning to for retirement security. A new 401k law that unlocks an ingenious retirement protection plan that could protect your savings from inflation and a stock market downturn while boosting your retirement income as much as 40%. It's all laid out in simple language in a new book from Josh Melberg. His insightful guide is your roadmap to retiring with confidence, and it's yours free with one call. Don't risk a lifetime of work building your retirement. This little-known retirement protection plan could safeguard your wealth and boost your retirement up to 40%. For your free copy of Guarantee Your Retirement by Josh Melberg, call now. Call 800-337-8051. That's 800-337-8051. 800-337-8051.
How long does it take to tackle a home project? With Angie, you could cross it off your list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need. Indoor or outdoor, repair or redesign, and we handle the rest, sending a top pro to get it done. You don't have to lift a finger, except to tap the screen or click the mouse. Plus, Angie is free to use. So bring us your next home project, and we'll bring it home. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.
They say they'll get your biggest tax refund. Jackson Hewitt says your biggest tax refund guaranteed, and a chance to double your tax refund. Thousands in weekly prizes during the Double Your Refund sweepstakes. Your biggest refund times 2, twice the money, so forget about them. File your taxes on the double at Jackson Hewitt today. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to U.S. residents 18 or older who file a 2022 federal tax return. Promotion ends 4/2/23. Visit jacksonhewitt.com for rules.
Treat your someone special to an unexpectedly special Valentine's Day with a gift from Trinity Jewelers. From their beautiful crosses, diamond, pearl, and gemstone collections, Mark Halgerman and the custom jewelry experts at Trinity Jewelers will help you find or create the perfect gift to express exactly how you feel. Visit trinityjewelers.com today or find them aboard the Gateway Clipper at the Word FM Valentine Date Night, February 10th. Trinity Jewelers, your trusted custom jeweler for over 50 years.
Listen on your smart speaker at wordfm.com, the Word FM app, iHeart, TuneIn, and on Odyssey. In your car or at home, too, at 101.5 WORD-FM, Pittsburgh.
It's getting harder and harder to make sense out of today's headlines. To stay on top of breaking world and national news with a Christian worldview and a faith-based perspective on what it means, turn to ChristianHeadlines.com. Log on to ChristianHeadlines.com for the very latest news, and then sign up for our free daily newsletter to stay one step ahead of what's happening. Get out of the mainstream media rut with top news and positive headlines every day with ChristianHeadlines.com.
Mostly cloudy tonight and tomorrow. Tonight's low 27, tomorrow's high 37. Mostly cloudy tomorrow night. A little snow late, accumulating a coating to an inch, low 29. Cloudy skies Wednesday with snow accumulating 1 to 2 inches, changing to rain in the morning, followed by a little rain in the afternoon. Storm total snowfall 1 to 3 inches, the high 40. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm forecaster Drew Shannon.
Great story. This is a really great story. An oil painting covered in bird droppings found in an upstate New York shed is a rare piece of art expected to fetch $3 million at a Sotheby's sale next week. The painting, which depicts a bearded older man sitting nude on a stool, say what you will, has been identified as a live study by the famed 17th century Flemish painter Anthony van Dyck. The sketch, which is believed to date back to between 1615 and 1618, was a study for Van Dyck's painting St. Jerome with an Angel. A part-time art collector, Albert D. Roberts, who recognized the importance of the painting, found it in a farm shed in Kinderhook, New York in the late 20th century. He bought the piece for $600, and he says he describes his collection, I know people like this, describes his collection as an orphanage for lost art that has suffered from neglect. He displayed the painting in what he described as its pristine condition. It happens to include bird droppings on the back. The museum in Netherlands has later shown the painting alongside St. Jerome with an Angel. So there's the work in progress, the study.
So that's in the museum right now?
Yeah.
Oh, what museum?
It's in the Netherlands.
In the Rijksmuseum?
It is
in Amsterdam?
Museum Voigemas.
Oh, don't know it.
In Rotterdam.
Okay.
So the painting, which is nearly 3 feet tall, is one of only 2 of Van Dyck's live studies of such a scale that has survived. They weren't meant to be exhibited. The artist would often keep them in the studio to refer back as he was finishing with his finished product. The estate is selling the painting next Thursday. A portion of the proceeds will go to the Albert B. Roberts Foundation, which provides financial support to artists, other creatives, and charities.
That's an incredible story.
I love it.
That is an incredible story.
What's it doing in a shed?
I have no idea.
There's something about, the oddity of an older man naked. Probably someone was like, oh, that's scandalous. Let's get rid of it and we'll hide it away somewhere.
Well, look how many. There are a lot of nudes throughout the history of art.
But it came to America. Well, how did it get here?
I know. I have
from
no idea.
The Netherlands.
So weird.
1615. Very interesting.
101.5 WORD.
You're listening now, so we know you're a fan of the radio station.
I am a big fan.
And we want you to know that we appreciate you.
I am your #1 fan.
That's why we've developed the Word FM Fan Club. It's free to join, and once you do, you can take part in exclusive surveys and contests.
Yeah, I love contests.
Special offers.
Great giveaways.
Discounts. Freebies.
I'd like to win one of these contests.
Become a member today. Go to wordfm.com/fan club and sign up.
We're big fans.
Cornerstone Television Network has been sharing the gospel through Christ-centered TV for over 43 years. In 2023, our mission remains the same, to raise God's signal high to the nations. But the methods of bringing Christ to people and people to Christ have changed. We can't wait to share with you how Cornerstone Television is shifting in this season. Please join us for 5 special nights of inspirational messages, anointed worship, and an exciting call to get involved. Watch Visions of Hope with special guests Keenan Bridges, Coy Barker, Eric Butler, Dr. Robert Jeffress, and Candace Smithyman. We're casting our vision for 2023, including plans to reach the next generation with the hope of Jesus. Tune in for Visions of Hope, January 23rd through 27th at 8 p.m., only on Cornerstone Television. That's Verizon Fios Channel 505 or Channel 805 on Comcast Xfinity. You can also watch our channels online 24/7 at ctvn.org.
Hello?
Hey, stranger.
Oh, hi. Thank goodness it's you. I was afraid to answer the phone.
Why? What's up?
The credit card companies are after me. They want me to make payments and the calls never stop.
Ouch. Been there before, but I got help from Trinity Debt Management.
Trinity?
Yeah, I called and right away Trinity contacted my creditors and got my interest rates cut in half. They ended all the late fees and over-limit charges, and they stopped those annoying phone calls.
Bet that was a relief.
Yep. Then they put me on a plan that consolidated my bills into one easy monthly payment. That way, I paid off my debt fast while saving thousands.
Nice.
Trinity even showed me how to plan and meet a monthly budget. So now I'm debt-free for keeps.
Wow. Do you still have their number?
Sure. Here, write this down and call 1-800-936-5496.
Can you repeat that?
1-800-936-5496. That's 1-800-936-5496.
Bachman's Roofing and Solar is your local award-winning roofer. Stop waiting. It's time to inspect your roof and protect your home's #1 asset. With no interest and no payment financing for 12 months, Bachman's Roofing is your easy choice for roofing, gutters, and solar. Did you know Bachman's Roofing is one of the #1 GAF solar integrated roofing installers in the USA? Go with Bachman's. Go with solar and install the roof that pays for itself. Call 412-744-8390 or visit bachmansroofing.com.
Marriage is hard. Is that an understatement of the year? Marriage is just hard.
Yep.
Dorothy Littell Greco is back with us. She's a writer and a photographer, author of Making Marriage. Dorothy and her husband lead marriage workshops, retreats, speakers at conferences nationwide, and they've been helping couples with healthy marriages for 25 years. Dorothy, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you both?
We're good. We're happy that you're with us.
Thank you.
Dorothy, there's been a lot of conversation I've seen in mainstream media over the last, 6 months about marriage. There was a big story that was done in the Wall Street Journal about why it is that couples that are together, not married, but cohabitating, so living in the same space, are so much less financially secure than people who are the same age, have the same jobs, but are married. And I was surprised how deeply the Wall Street Journal went into this story. It was like it was kind of a personal attempt to meet with a maybe 30-ish woman, 30-ish man who had decided not to marry for reasons that they didn't really get into, and how upset they were that their friends who had gotten married, who were their same age, were quote unquote, in financial terms, so much further ahead. So money's just a part of it. But why is it that people who marry and people who cohabitate or people who don't marry are in different positions?
Gosh, I'm sorry to say that I did not read that article. That was
right.
Super helpful.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just one of the things I've read that just means that marriage is still in the conversation in America.
Yes. I can't say for sure why it is that people who are married would have better or more robust financial security, but maybe there's a greater level of trust. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're talking more about their finances and how to plan for future, where somebody who's cohabitating, again, this is just conjecture here, they might be a little more free with their finances and a little less concerned about what that would look like to save together, to think about how their finances could come together and benefit them in a greater way, because, again, there's just the commitment is there.
So in today's world, and it's so difficult, marriage goes back, of course, since Adam and Eve. It's still a very difficult thing to process through. And in a recent piece that you wrote, Dorothy, you talk about the original marriage, and Adam and Eve, there they were, living in splendor and abundance, but still they turned against each other and turned against God.
Yes, and I have always been so perplexed by that. As I write in that article, they had everything. All of their needs were provided for. They didn't have monthly rent. They didn't have taxes. They had no scars coming into their marriage, so they weren't in therapy. Why was it that they couldn't trust the Lord and trust His goodness? Yeah. But to some extent, that's the struggle we all have, right?
Yep.
Can we believe in God's goodness, particularly in the face of difficulty, in the face of challenges? So it is perplexing on one hand, but on the other hand, I think we should all probably be able to relate to that temptation to not trust God and temptation to want more.
So Adam and Eve, obviously an ancient story. The Wall Street Journal thing I mentioned is a current story. There's a lot in between, a ton in between. I mean, there were eras when, and there are certain parts of the world, of course, where marriages are arranged. And that's for, financial security or to
cultural differences.
To consolidate power or whatever that is. Today, we talk about marriage as in, you have to marry your one true love, or you have to find your soulmate, or whatever it is. So talk about, I don't know if you can even assess, I don't mean to ask you to assess, but like marriage that's arranged or done for business purposes versus, marriage that's done with affection in mind.
Well, there was an interesting article in the past year. I'm not going to remember the person's name who wrote it, but she talked about being in an arranged marriage. And she's someone who's younger than me. I believe she's in her 30s. And it was a really interesting piece, and it really challenged me because she talked about how her parents and her spouse's parents knew each other. They knew the two of them, and they really felt like that this would be a phenomenal way for the two of them to spend their lives together. So obviously, for those of us in highly individualistic cultures like the United States, we bristle at that. We think like, oh my gosh, like that's archaic. But it is still working. It is still working for some people. And I think that there's a level of connectedness to extended family that these folks have. I mean, obviously the ones where they're child brides or the girls have absolutely no choice in the matter, I think those are horrific. But I'm assuming we're not talking about that. For arranged marriages that happen today where there is concern that the parents bring to the table, where there is communication between the potential bride and the potential groom, they can work. And it's just a very different model for us, again, who are just so used to deciding on our own based on our feelings, largely, who it is that we're going to marry. Christopher and I don't actually believe that there's only one person out there in the world that we're supposed to marry, but we also believe that when we're married, we should feel that way.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, I was watching football over the weekend, Dorothy, and they're promoting a new show called The Farmer's Wife. And it's one of these reality shows where they're going out, I think, somewhere in the breadbasket of America, looking to match couples, right, who are, suited to each other to live as farmers' wives, farmer husband and wife. But when I think about this, when I think about marriage, anybody who's been married for maybe a decade or more, you realize, that the rose often comes off the bloom, that the romance, comes and goes. It tends to fade. But, the idea of surrendering to yourself and the sacrifice of your wants and needs, your ego for the other person is paramount to successful marriage. And you talk about this often.
I do, and there's a quote that I believe is in this article from Mike Mason's book, The Mystery of Marriage, which I love, and he refers to marriage as an unrelenting guerrilla war against selfishness. And I just think he is spot on, because there are so many times when we as spouses have to decide, like, who am I really going to love in this moment, myself or my spouse? And not that those things have to be mutually exclusive, but if we're always choosing what we want and what we need and what makes us feel good, it's going to be pretty hard for the marriage to make it. There has to be an ongoing give and take, an ongoing sacrifice, obviously from both sides. If it's only one person who's doing it, that's not going to be a mutually fulfilling marriage. But I think that when we can make that decision ahead of time and make it every single day, because, maybe I'm unusual, but I really do have to make the decision, like, how am I going to love my husband? Yep. And what is that going to look like on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So when you and your husband do marriage seminars and you meet with other couples, do you see a trend? I mean, we have become such a selfish society. Does that show itself in your connection with married couples over the past decade or so that you've been doing a lot of this work?
Well, I'll tell you what we are seeing. The presence of social media and the pull of social media is really, really affecting marriages. And I'll try to slice that out quickly. Okay. I think one thing that we see is couples who routinely post only really happy vacation pictures. Mm-hmm. Everybody's doing well, and they all are so happy, are often the couples who are really struggling. And it's almost as if they're attempting to put out this persona of who they are, maybe for their own good, but, maybe to convince other people they're the ones who often have marriages that are struggling. Another way that I think that social media is affecting us is it can make us very jealous. We see these pictures of other people, and we see photos of people on vacation in places that, for us, we could never go. And that can create a discontent in us in a sense of the other person has it better than we do. Right. And I think that could be really dangerous because we all struggle. We all have our issues. And if we're looking out at someone else and idealizing them, chances are we're going to feel less contentment in our own marriage, which will be harmful.
One of the things that I'm really grateful for to be a longtime member of his church is that you're surrounded by other couples, right? Younger couples, older couples. And, you do get to know couples better, especially if you're part of a small group. And you see people's struggles. You see people's triumphs and their failures as well. And I think a lot of people who don't belong to a church, and they're just living, through a social media lifestyle or, through television or whatnot, you miss all that feed. And I think that's a really positive thing to have that as part of your life.
I agree with you. And I would say that that's another danger coming out of COVID. Church attendance is down just across the United States. People have realized, I don't have to go to church. Church is optional. I can watch church from the comfort of my couch with my PJs on. And to some extent, that's true. And for people who have physical disabilities or long-term health issues, that has been a phenomenal way for them to stay connected. But for the average person, we really do need to get out there and to be connecting with people on a regular basis, whether it's church on Sunday morning or, as you mentioned, John, like a house church or a home group during the week. Like if we don't allow other people into our lives, if we're not vulnerable with other people and speaking the truth to each other, I think that it's really, really hard to keep going.
It's scary. It's scary, but it's necessary.
Check out Marriage in the Middle, Embracing Midlife Surprises, Challenges, and Joys by author Dorothy Littell Greco. Dorothy, always good to connect with you. Thank you.
I always love being on the show. Thanks for having me.
It's truly our great pleasure. We'll take a quick break and talk about...
National Pie Day coming up next.
Pie talk. All right. That's next on The Ride Home. Have you ever picked up a towel set because it felt really soft in the store, but then when you got to use it, it's not very absorbent? It's basically a towel that's leaving you out to dry. That's why MyPillow has developed the MyPillow towels. Towels that work. I know, it's mind-blowing. Towels that actually dry you. Their 6-piece towel set includes 2 bath towels, 2 hand towels, 2 washcloths. They come in a variety of colors, and right now you can receive a 6-piece set for only $49.99 with promo code WORD. Or go to MyPillow.com right now and click on the radio listener special. MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty and have their 60-day money-back guarantee. To receive this amazing offer on the 6-piece set off MyPillow towels, just go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener special, enter promo code WORD, or call 800-391-0954. That's 800-391-0954. Or visit MyPillow.com, promo code WORD.
Have you or your children ever faced hunger at a level where your life or theirs were at risk? Or have you ever been in a situation where you had little or no access to clean drinking water and no ability to get it? For most of us in the United States, we have never had to face that crisis. But for children in the countries of Malawi, Zambia, and Uganda, it's a battle they face every single day. Cross International is asking for your help to provide life-saving resources for children in these African countries and other nations where Cross International has partners and is working to solve this crisis and assist with COVID-19 efforts. A $62 one-time gift per child helps provide life-saving resources like food, water, COVID-19 assistance, Christian education, and a Bible. If you would like to give a life-saving gift for one or more children, you can get involved right now by calling 1-866-806-2977. That's 1-866-806-2977. Or look for the Cross International banner at wordfm.com.
Geneva College understands that you're passionate about your life's work. Through Geneva's graduate degree programs, you'll be equipped to fully pursue your faith life calling, excelling in your field, and moving forward for a purpose. In your studies and in your work, you'll be challenged to seek God's design in all things, integrating faith and life, aspiring, leading, and achieving your goals for all that you're created to be and do. You were made for this. Visit geneva.edu/graduate to learn more.
Treat your someone special to an unexpectedly special Valentine's Day with a gift from Trinity Jewelers. From their beautiful crosses, diamond, pearl, and gemstone collections, Mark Halgerman and the custom jewelry experts at Trinity Jewelers will help you find or create the perfect gift to express exactly how you feel. Visit trinityjewelers.com today or find them aboard the Gateway Clipper at the Word FM Valentine Date Night, February 10th. Trinity Jewelers, your trusted custom jeweler for over 50 years.
For National Pie Day, I took the meta approach and decided to look countrywide at if the average American was going to choose a pie, what would they choose for a day like today?
Yeah.
This is the result of a nationwide poll by Schwann's Consumer Brands North America, the makers of the Mrs. Smith's brand of pie products.
Mrs. Smith, that's what it was.
So, all across the United States, people have weighed in, and the number one pie that Americans would choose is
apple.
Yes, 47%.
Because they know.
The second pie people would choose is
cherry.
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin. All right,
yep.
Pumpkin. Right.
And it goes down like this. It goes to chocolate cream at 32%, then cherry, then apple crumb, then pecan, lemon meringue, blueberry, key lime, and rounding out the top 10, peach at 16%.
Peach. My wife, we did the peach truck this summer.
Yeah, we did too.
We did. My wife made several peach pies.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh. On a dreary day like today.
A peach pie would cheer you up, wouldn't it?
Ever. Seriously. Okay, so in anticipation of National Pie Day, 13 places to find perfect Pittsburgh pies.
So now we go from meta to, what's the opposite of meta?
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
How about a local story?
Local. Okay, yeah. Oakmont Bakery.
Yeah.
Of course, now, we all know that they're making their desserts. They sell mini pies. They say that these little babies are the perfect size for solo pie eating. Who doesn't want to? This is from Next Pittsburgh. I'm picking it up. Abby Sinan has written this. Solo pie, Oakmont Bakery. Sidecar next to Butter Joint. This is a place that you know, Kath.
This is a place I know well, and I highly recommend the vinegar pie. It's one of my favorite desserts I've ever had.
This is like grapes of wrath.
I'm telling you,
Depression
it sounds awful and tastes fabulous.
Pie Bird in Lawrenceville. True pie fanatics know about the Pie of the Month Club, which offers a seasonal sweet pie every 30 days. Husband and wife team combine local ingredients with culinary expertise. Butler Street in Lawrenceville. Pie Bird. The Pie Place on Highland Road in Bethel Park. From a variety of fruit fillings to cream pies. The South Hills Institution, the possibilities are sky high. With flavors for any taste buds. I like to try that. Pittsburgh pie guy, Lou Butler, knows pie. All pies are made with local ingredients. Don't miss the seasonal flavors. This is a one-man operation, so be sure to check his blog, the Pie Blog, for weekly updates. He pops up at local farmers markets. Bloomfield Saturday Market in Bloomfield. Food Glorious Food is on Bryant Street in Highland Park.
Okay.
Open Wednesdays through Saturdays. It's like a hometown bakery when you walk by the front windows. Other bakeries sell only whole pies. Here you can buy a slice of pie.
Can you really? I'd have to buy 2 slices. 1 slice of pie
No, it's not enough. Cobbler World. Tarina Hicks has been perfecting her pie-making talents since she was 14. Her shop is inside the David L. Lawrence Convention Center.
What?
Yep. Can't pass up citrus pies like key lime and lemon meringue. Pies can be picked up Tuesday through Friday. Sorghel.
Love Sorghel.
Sorghel Orchards. Famous fruit pies. Pie purchasers have also the option to order half pies. That sounds good to me. Sorghel Orchard offers specialty fruit-filled pies, also offers a few varieties with no sugar added. Wild Rise Bakery in Homewood. How about that? Mini sweet potato or crumble top apple pies are a must for any gathering. The Pub Chip Shop. It's a British place.
Where's that?
Carson Street.
South side?
The meat and vegetable pies are placed wrapped in a flaky crust.
Listen, we haven't talked about that. We haven't talked about your turkey pot pie or your chicken pot pie or your beef pie.
Yeah, that sounds so good.
Man, I love that.
Anthos Bakery and Cafe in Shannon, PA.
Which Shannon, PA?
Greek spinach pie. Oh, do you have you had? Oh,
listen, I would love that.
Have you never had one?
No.
Oh, I used to live in a Greek neighborhood in New York City. Oh my gosh, spinach pies. Oh, Christo's Mediterranean Grill on 6th Street downtown. They offer spenadakos on the menu as well, plus baklava. The third generation operation make you feel like you're eating in a Greek aisle.
That's right by the bridge.
Tomato Pie Cafe in Allison Park. Tomato Pie Cafe.
Oh, that's North Park.
Family-run restaurant, not your usual pizza. They have large slices of fresh tomato and basil pie. I'm going to stop somewhere and get a pie on the way home.
Pie.
Happy Pie Day. Lovely, lovely.
Ask Alexa to play the word Pittsburgh to hear us there. We're on your Google speaker too, plus iHeart, TuneIn, and on Odyssey. 101.5 WORD-FM, Pittsburgh.
Investments.com.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has committed to holding talks with President Biden on raising the debt limit.
After the White House said Friday the president was looking forward to meeting with McCarthy, the speaker tweeted, quote, President Biden, I accept your invitation to sit down and discuss a responsible debt ceiling increase to address irresponsible government spending. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said it's time for Congress to, in her words, do their duty and raise the debt limit. McCarthy is holding firm to a commitment he made to conservative elements in his own party to cut spending in order to win their votes to elect him speaker. Bob Agnew reporting.
Democrat Congressman Ruben Gallego announcing he will run for the Arizona Senate seat now held by independent Kirsten Sinema, setting up the possibility of a general election that could divide party support between the two incumbents. This is SRN News.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-786-2300. 800-786-2300. That's 800-786-2300.
Late summer this year, you can join Alistair Begg on a fascinating Mediterranean cruise.
We'll begin in Naples, Italy, where we can view breathtaking architecture, historical landmarks, and of course, great art. We may even take a bus to the ruins of Pompeii. We'll actually be stepping into picturesque villages and iconic sites in several places where the Apostle Paul journeyed. And it'll be my privilege to teach the Bible every day so that we can get to know God better.
Join Alistair Begg for a once-in-a-lifetime Mediterranean cruise. Immerse yourself in the wonder of some of the world's most famous cathedrals, museums, and works of art. We'll be sailing on Norwegian Cruise Line's newest ship, the luxurious Viva. For details, log on to deeperfaithcruise.com. Then call 855-565-5519 to join. 855-565-5519. Inspiration Cruises and Tours is a trusted partner of Salem Media Group.
What if, instead of focusing on how students can serve the market, educators focused on how schools can serve students? Trinity Christian School in Forest Hills invites you to discover what a classical Christian education can offer your child. Saturday, February 4th from 10 to 11:30. Meet the teachers, tour the school, enjoy brunch, and get all your questions answered about the holistic approach to education that works with the grain of your child's God-given curiosity. For more information, visit trinitychristian.net.
This is Tim Seckler inviting you to tune in each and every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. right here on Word FM 101.5 for the Life and Legacy Show, sponsored by my law firm, the Seckler Law Firm. Each week, we'll talk about your family's well-being as it relates to elder law, nursing home stays, estate planning, and keeping your hard-earned savings. And if you missed the Life and Legacy Show, you will find it archived at secklerlawfirm.com. See you Saturday morning at 9 a.m. right here on Word FM 101.5 for the Life and Legacy Show.
Mostly cloudy tonight and tomorrow. Tonight's low 27, tomorrow's high 37. Mostly cloudy tomorrow night. A little snow late, accumulating a coating to an inch, low 29. Cloudy skies Wednesday with snow accumulating 1 to 2 inches, changing to rain in the morning, followed by a little rain in the afternoon. Storm total snowfall 1 to 3 inches, the high 40. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm forecaster Drew Shannon.
Welcome to another edition of The Ride Home with John and Kathy, live from the Salem-Pittsburgh studios. And now here are your hosts, John Hall and Kathy Emmons.
Hey, thanks for coming along today. Monday edition. Andy Sheehan, he himself, long time at KDKA, broke a story. What's the date? He broke a story on the 20th.
Today's 23rd.
So on Friday. And the headline here locally is North Catholic counselor who lost job after students get crystals from self-proclaimed witches believes she should not have been dismissed.
Okay, wait. I think we need to break that story down a little bit.
A former North Catholic high school employee.
You reading from where?
I'm reading from KDKA's website.
Okay.
A former North Catholic high school employee finds herself at the center of a controversy over her inviting 3 self-proclaimed witches to talk to students at the high school. The counselor, who was dismissed from her job, admitted the beliefs of her invited guests run counter to Catholic teachings, but she said her dismissal was not in keeping with the church's messages of forgiveness. So, Andy, there's a video here of Andy sitting down, and there's sort of a transcript on the website. And she brought witches into the Catholic high school. They say, Andy Sheehan says, was that a judgment of error on your part? She said, I should have had. Now, so to be fair here, the woman who's responding, for whatever reason, wants to be remaining anonymous.
Okay.
So she says, so Andy's transcript says, counselor. Counselor says, I should have had more conversations with them, specifically about the crystal situation, but again, it didn't ping for me something that would be such a big issue. The advisor, quote, said she invited the owners of Elemental Magic to discuss the process of starting a small business. But the women who also identify as Wiccans, a coven of witches who worship nature. The advisor was called to task by the school and the Catholic diocese after it was learned that they gifted the students crystals, which the Wiccans believe have special powers.
Oh, my God.
Quote, I know that the aspect that was brought into our school is not appropriate for our school, says Michelle Peduto. Peduto is the diocese director of Catholic education. She says, Michelle Peduto says, I'm not a theologian, but I'm a mom, and I'm a Catholic mom. I'm a Catholic school administrator. I do understand what we have to have in our Catholic schools and what does not fit in our Catholic schools, and this clearly did not. So the counselor is now quoted as saying, I was led to believe this was kind of a big deal and a letter of warning would happen. I said, okay, fair, I get it. The employee was put on administrative leave while the diocese and the school investigated. In the meantime, the school sent an email to parents and guardians telling them to dispose of the crystals and advise them to say a prayer to St. Michael the Archangel to cleanse their homes. The diocese won't comment on what action was taken next, but the employee said she got a letter calling her error egregious and asked her to resign.
It is egregious.
It's just ridiculous. How could you work in a Catholic school and invite...
Right. Okay. So what does that mean? That means that the counselor, Ms. Peduto said, she was a mom who was interviewed, you said, for the piece. She said, I'm not a theologian, but I'm Catholic enough to know that this isn't a good thing.
No, the Peduto is is part of the Catholic diocese.
Oh, okay. But she's also a mom?
Yes.
Okay. So she says, I'm not a theologian, but I know enough to know that this isn't a good thing.
Right.
Well, the problem is that the counselor didn't have enough theological training to recognize that this is completely incompatible.
Well, how would you think that would...
with Catholic worldview?
As part of you being hired to work in an institution, don't you think that they would have to vet along those same lines?
Yeah.
This is what we believe. Do you believe this as well?
Right.
I mean, you think
apparently there was some kind of collapse between this is what we believe and what do you believe?
Crystals. I mean, that's wacky.
How many? 2 Wiccans in?
3.
3 Wiccans.
And she brought them in.
Absolutely crazy.
Wait, the funny thing to me is that you bring them in to talk about small business. I mean, I get it. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, it's a small business, all right. Oh my gosh, now I talked about this before on the air, but I went to the University of Pittsburgh. I love Pitt, big Pitt supporter, and I still do all sorts of things with Pitt students. I was in the Pitt bookstore, which is a place you and I both loved for a long time.
It was a great bookstore.
Right?
It's a really great bookstore. It's a shadow of itself now.
So now this is about...
It's a great bookstore.
Almost exactly a year ago, I think. I think it was right after Christmas right after the Christmas 2021. I went in to look for a gift, and I was just, wandering around as you would do in a bookstore. And I look in the astronomy section because I was always a big astronomy fan when I was a kid. I loved to look at books on astronomy. In the astronomy section, I have a photograph of it in my phone. Wiccanism for today.
In the astronomy section?
How to be a Wiccan. Easy spells for a healthier life.
Wait, so this should have been in the astrology section.
Now, this is a major university. Did they not know the difference between astronomy and astrology?
Well,
and Wiccanism isn't necessarily astrology either. I mean, what are we talking about? But the fact that all of that ended up in the astronomy section, and I couldn't find a book on the solar system.
In the astronomy section?
Because they were too busy. I mean, there were probably easily 30 books on Wiccanism.
In the astronomy section?
Yes.
Well, that's just a failure of education.
Yes, it is.
Big time.
Which is the same with this counselor at North Catholic. It's a failure of education.
Well, okay, so here's the deal. You put your child in a private school.
For a reason.
Right?
You're paying for that.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to put your child into a private school. You're paying hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars monthly to do that.
Right.
Now, you would think that the administration of said private school, whether it's, a local Christian school on the street corner or the diocese, would have said, this is our vetting process. Or how about Theology 101?
Yeah,
and
yes.
Take a test here.
I think that's a great idea, right? Actually.
Now, to be fair, and I'm being fair here, I'm sure it's very difficult to get teachers to teach in a private school. And I have huge respect for people because you could make a decent living, a good living as a public school teacher.
Right. But it's much harder when you're a private school teacher.
But if you're a person of faith and you want to teach in a Christian school, said Catholic school, you're making a fraction of what you would make elsewhere. So I have great admiration for people, men and women, who give their best daily to do that. I mean, it's a surrender on the family finances. But you're a person of faith, so you're saying, I choose to teach here because I love and know Jesus. But there's a weird disconnect here, that's all. How could someone be so ignorant of the facts of their faith that they would think it's cool to invite witches in to talk about marketing, and then the witches in their kindness, they thought it was like they were being generous. Here's a little crystal for you. Because you're spiritual people, we're going to pass that along to you. And everyone's nodding their head
that's
going,
a big
that's
miss.
Good.
That's just a big miss. And then the diocese says, we suggest you say a prayer and dispose of your crystal. I feel like it's time for a meeting. Whoever got the crystals, and maybe this has happened, if it has happened, that would be great. I think it would be time for a meeting to bring people together and say, okay, here's what we believe about this.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
This is not just a matter of because that sounds superstitious. Oh, we'll just say the right prayer and throw out your crystal away.
It'll cleanse you.
No, I think we have to understand what we're talking about. So let's all get together and let's talk about the Catholic Church's position on this, and then what happened, so that we can all better understand what the problem with this story was.
I don't think that's outrageous.
It seems like
makes common sense to me.
That would be a good approach.
I would think so.
Wow.
All right.
All right. Well, from that to your weekly hymn, HYMN, that you might sing on a Sunday morning.
Yes.
Is there still a place for hymns in today's contemporary church?
Oh, definitely. We're going to talk about that deeply with someone whose life's work is hymns next.
101.5 WORD.
Everywhere you go, anywhere you go, Word FM goes with you. That's because we're no longer trapped inside a radio. We're now everywhere you are, and you carry us around in your pocket. We're ubiquitous.
There's an app for that, right?
On TuneIn, on iHeart, on our own app, on wordfm.com.
The iPhone. The iPhone.
The iPhone.
The iPhone. On your iPad, iPhone, and Android. We're always with you because we're inside your pocket. Whatever you do, don't lose us. 101.5 WORD.
Oil investments involve a high degree of risk and actual results may vary. Oil and natural gas keep going up as the Russia conflict escalates. Get in on the next major oil boom now and help the U.S. with your patriotic investment that can potentially pay you monthly income for up to 20 or more years. That's the sound of a producing oil well and the sound of a smart investment. If you're an SEC accredited investor and have at least $25,000 liquid now, you can take advantage of Encore Energy's projects and a huge tax savings for this year. If you invest in oil and natural gas, you're allowed to write off nearly 100% of your investment in the first year. Goldman Sachs is projecting oil to go up to $100 a barrel, and natural gas is the fuel of the future and trading at record prices. Call 800-287-6691. Encore Energy is a major investor and experienced operator in its core area of operations. Call now and learn how to deduct 100% of your investment and create 20 or more years of potential monthly income. Call 800-287-6691. That's 800-287-6691.
Word FM listeners, in this year radio commercial, I'm going to show you how the famous quote, 2 birds, 1 stone, should actually be 4 birds, 1 stone. I can see you're on the edge of your seat, but let's at least give it a try. It's Ryan from United Faith Mortgage, and what we're seeing from families across the country is how 1 stone, the cash out refinance, is helping families 4 different ways. The cost of everything is currently crazy, which is spiking credit card debt, where interest rates are often 3 to 5 times higher than mortgage interest rates, which is why we're seeing family after family taking advantage of the fact that their home has skyrocketed in value and cashing out that newfound money to pay off the credit card monster, using leftovers on special purchases, setting a bit extra aside for future peace of mind. And the 4th positive is cleaning up debt improves your credit score, giving you better future options. If you're curious what a cash-out refinance would do for you, we are United Faith Mortgage.
United Mortgage Corp, Melville, New York. NMLS number 1330. Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities. Mortgage lender license 22672.
Treat your someone special to an unexpectedly special Valentine's Day with a gift from Trinity Jewelers. From their beautiful crosses, diamond, pearl, and gemstone collections, Mark Halgerman and the custom jewelry experts at Trinity Jewelers will help you find or create the perfect gift to express exactly how you feel. Visit trinityjewelers.com today or find them aboard the Gateway Clipper at the Word FM Valentine Date Night, February 10th. Trinity Jewelers, your trusted custom jeweler for over 50 years.
What'd you say? Okay. Isn't that beautiful? What happens in your church on a Sunday morning? Most likely you are singing a hymn or hymns.
I think a lot of people aren't singing hymns.
Probably not. Maybe so in more contemporary times, right? There's a rise of contemporary Christian music. I love the old hymns, and I'm curious about those who are engaged in hymns, and the Hymn Society exists to talk about that, to engage and equip. Joining us from the Hymn Society, the director for the Center for Congregational Song is Brian Hehn. Hey, Brian, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. It's great to be here.
Our pleasure.
Brian, for people who are listening to the program who think, I don't even know what that word means, hymn, Hymn, talk about how you define it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's something we argue about within the Hymn Society, because some people would say, like, anything we sing in church. And that's how a lot of people use the word, right? When they say, let's sing a hymn, they just mean song of praise to God, right? Then there are other people that kind of into the nitty-gritty of a hymn is like a text. It's not the music. It's just the text. It's a strophic text designed to be sung in church. So it has the same meter. It's a very specific kind of poetry, and then everything in between. I like something we sing in praise to God. So it's very, very broad.
Very broad. That's good. Okay, so Brian, talk about you and the Hymn Society and your involvement, someone whose livelihood is connected with hymns.
Yeah, I'm really lucky because I have a very kind of niche job. I'm the director of the Center for Congregational Song, and what that means is I get to live and breathe hymns and sing as my full-time profession. So what I do for the Hymn Society, I'm one of two full-time staffers. We're a nonprofit organization, so we have members across the world, and we have sister organizations across the world as well. But most of our members are in the U.S. and Canada, and they're church musicians, they're songwriters, they're pastors, they're professors of church music and liturgy, and we're also ecumenical. So what that means is, like, my week-to-week, I may be on a phone call with a Baptist organization, and then I'll be doing a workshop for a Lutheran church, and then I may be on a call with some Roman Catholics the next day. So I really have the game when it comes to all the different denominations within Christianity.
Fabulous.
Brian, what do you think about the worship wars? Which is some people who, I don't like old hymns, or I don't like creeds. You know, I only like contemporary music. Or people that say, I don't like contemporary music. Contemporary music is horrible. It's, Jesus is my boyfriend songs. We should sing something good like Holy, Holy, Holy.
Yeah. I have a webinar that I called Thanks 1990s, because the 1990s kind of birthed the worship wars, or that's what it's called. I'm not a big fan of it. Okay, first of all, it's a dichotomy, right? It's like either this or that. And the music of the church has always been bigger. Ever since the beginning, the church has been singing in a variety of ways for a variety of reasons, and they've pretty much been arguing about it as well. Every generation of the church creates their own song, right? Their own stanza of the great hymn of the church, if you will. So it's really important that we have people writing hymns and songs for the church now. Mm-hmm. But they are inheriting a legacy of doing that from every generation that came before them. Jesus sang a hymn when they were leaving the Last Supper. It says, and they sang a hymn, right? So Jesus sang praises to God through this thing we call hymns or songs or psalms. And ever since then, the church has been singing. I can point, at any point in history, I can point to some really terrible music that the church was doing. So the fact that we're creating really bad music today in the church is not unique. But what happens is, 100 years from now, the church will only be singing the songs that we're writing today that really speak to something deep and capital T true. The rest of it will fall away. Yeah. And that's what we have in the great hymns of the church, right? We sing Great is Thy Faithfulness or Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. We don't sing the 1,000 other hymns that were written around those same times because they're just not as good.
Right. Brian, is there, have you done a ranking of, like, we all like lists, right? Is there a ranking of, the 100 greatest hymns that you're akin to?
There's various lists that people have made. We a couple of years ago, just for fun, the hymn Society ran a contest called like the greatest hymn of all time, and had like a Sweet 16 bracket, the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it was kind of tongue in cheek. It was for fun. Holy, Holy, Holy won. Just
I know it.
Yeah, right. It's such a good hymn. But I think one of the most interesting lists that I've seen is on hymnary.org, which is the largest online database of hymns and hymnals that is available in the world. And they have a list, can sort the hymns in their database, which is just thousands upon thousands upon thousands. You can sort them by how many hymnals they've appeared in.
Really?
And so you can, go to hymnary.org, hymnary.org. It's a organization based out of Calvin College. We continue to help support them, even though they're an independent organization from us. We are very, very much connected. They do wonderful work, and you can play around with all the sorting features and get all sorts of interesting information.
Yeah, the other cool thing about that website, Brian, that I enjoy is that you can find out information about the songwriter.
Exactly.
So it just gives you a greater understanding of the hymn and where it came from and what was going on. And so I appreciate that website. We're talking about hymns with Brian Hehn, director of the Center for Congregational Song. Brian, for people who have decided that hymns are out, and we would say, and by hymn, in this definition, I would say like a classic hymn, like a Holy, 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 or Great is Thy Faithfulness, or Be Still My Soul, or something like that. They only want something contemporary. What would you say they're missing out on in their worship?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I hope that the songwriters that are creating the things they do like to sing most likely cut their teeth and learned the craft of writing songs by studying those old hymns. They didn't just all of a sudden start creating songs out of nowhere and have them show up on the CCLI Top 100. A lot of these folks, most of these folks, I hope all of those folks are studying the hymns of the past. But what they're missing out on is the witness of the witness of the saints of the past. Mm-hmm. When we use liturgies, hymns, anything from the church in the past, what we're doing is we're giving them voice again. We're giving them an opportunity to continue to teach us as we journey forward. That's what we do when we read the Bible, right? We read all these stories about Jesus and the disciples and Paul and his journeys and all the Old Testament stories. And what we're doing every time we read the Bible is we're learning from, being inspired by those people of the past who are just trying their best to seek God, right? Mm-hmm. So hymns are the same way. It's a witness of the past. And there's some beautiful poetry and beautiful language, beautiful theology that deserves to continue to have voice.
Fabulous. I oftentimes, whenever I'm like on Spotify or, streaming, I often try to find, like a subsection of, I'll type in hymns or classical hymns. I want to stream that. And to be honest, it always comes up short. I mean, it's just, there's nothing there. Is there a repository, Brian, that, you can go online and listen to hymns?
No, there's not. There of course, there are individual CDs and various productions that have created some beautiful recordings of hymns, but they are few and far between. It's one of the things that I constantly lament. I'm with you. You search for it, comes up short.
Yeah.
One of the recordings I sent you to hear a little piece of comes from a CD called 42 Treasured Favorites from the African American Heritage Hymnal.
Okay.
There's 2 volumes of that, actually, and recordings on that are some of the best ever heard. It's by the Morgan State University Choir.
Interesting.
So shout out to Morgan State here in Baltimore. And Jimmy Abingdon, who is one of the foremost scholars in hymnology conducted them. And the songs are just wonderful, and it's a lot of the great hymns of the faith. So I encourage you to look up that CD, 42 treasured favorites from the African American Heritage Hymnal. But yeah, it's a problem. We need more people like really good sound, like creating awesome recordings and mixes of hymns.
Fabulous. Well, Brian, thanks. A very brief visit, but to raise the awareness about the Hymn Society and the work that you're doing for Congregational Song. 100 years from now, those songs that you're producing and helping to engage with, they're still going to be here. We're grateful for that and for your work on that behalf. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Brian Hehn from the Hymn Society.
First, we decide where we want to go. Then we need to know the best way to get there. Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold. We're the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest #1 national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Rhema Christian School is a private school in Moon Township serving children in preschool through 8th grade. Recognized for its commitment to a biblically integrated curriculum that nurtures a Christian worldview and academic excellence, Rhema aims to develop the whole child, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially. Rhema is a true community of families who desire to raise up the next generation of godly leaders, also offering programs for homeschool families, accepting enrollment now for the current school year and opening soon for the 2023-24 school year. Visit RhemaChristianSchool.org.
Bachman's Roofing and Solar is your local award-winning roofer. Stop waiting. It's time to inspect your roof and protect your home's #1 asset. With no interest and no payment financing for 12 months, Bachman's Roofing is your easy choice for roofing, gutters, and solar. Did you know Bachman's Roofing is one of the #1 GAF solar integrated roofing installers in the USA? Go with Bachman's. Go with solar and install the roof that pays for itself. Call 412-744-8390 or visit Bachman'sRoofing.com.
Progressive is America's #1 motorcycle insurer, so we understand motorcycles. No, really, we have a bike translator.
Okay, so this bike feels like he's capable of a little more than just trips to the convenience store. Oh, also, he wants to let you know that you can buy a gallon of ice cream instead of a pint every time. Those are his words. So he said roughly like, blink the last wheel. It doesn't really translate, but the way he said it was super funny.
Get 24/7 roadside assistance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Roadside assistance subject to policy terms and limits and may require comprehensive coverage.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
We are everywhere. On your radio at 101.5 WORD-FM Pittsburgh, at wordfm.com, the Word FM mobile app, iHeart, TuneIn, and Odyssey.
Mostly cloudy tonight and tomorrow. Tonight's low 27, tomorrow's high 37. Mostly cloudy tomorrow night. A little snow late, accumulating a coating to an inch, low 29. Cloudy skies Wednesday with snow accumulating 1 to 2 inches, changing to rain in the morning, followed by a little rain in the afternoon. Storm total snowfall 1 to 3 inches, the high 40. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm forecaster Drew Shannon.
Does this make sense?
Does what make sense?
Rewatching TV shows. You've already seen them. You know what happens. But you're going to sit down and hit play again.
I rarely do that. especially in this age of streaming when there's such abundance. But I get it 100% because it's like an old friend.
It is.
And you go,
Yes.
man, remember when?
Yes.
And you check that. And,
Yes.
that's, it's like a memory.
Yes.
That goes on and on and on. So I get that.
Especially if you've shared it with somebody else. Like you shared it with your kids, your spouse, your
Right.
parents.
Yeah.
Remember when we used to watch this?
Yeah, oh, man. Phineas and Ferb. I go back and watch Phineas and Ferb, and it's like, I get all emotional. I get all choked up. I'm like, where's my 7-year-old sitting next to me, you know? Now they're 25, you know? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. But you can see why I don't want to do it that much. It's just...
You don't want to waste your time.
There's so much. There's so much good stuff out there.
However, when it comes right down to it, John, it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I watch movies over again, right? Over and over again. All right. Speaking of television, does this make sense? Football. I spent a lot of time this weekend watching football. And people are just brutalized. They were talking during one of the games about, you know, guys who have been retired 20, 30. One guy's going, my buddy can't walk anymore. He's 50. I mean, it's a meat grinder, what goes on out there. At the same time, our appetite is insatiable. We, as a country, you can see, we love football.
It's the greatest game. It's such a great game.
I mean, it is, but it's so incredibly brutal.
I know.
I want to, like, you know, I want to be, like, high-minded and dislike it and go, no, the sacrifice for these people is far, far, far too much. At the same time, Sunday at 1 o'clock, especially when the Steelers are playing, count me in. I'm there 100%.
I know, me too.
So there's a sickness there. We sacrifice people.
Okay, but here's the thing. They're also making much, much greater than the average salary
They
in
are.
America.
I get that, right.
So it's not, this isn't the Coliseum here.
No, but they're also driving around in little motorized scooters when they're 45 years because their spines have been shattered or their fingers and legs have been pummeled.
I know. I think about that too.
But I had a good weekend watching football.
I know.
And I loved it. I really did. At the same time, I'm always happy to go to see the Pirates play and think, you know, when you're a retired ball player, you live a lot longer.
Exactly.
I don't know.
If you had a kid, you'd want to be a baseball player more than you wanted to be a football
speaking
player.
of rewinds, have you ever like rewound and watched a Steelers Super Bowl?
30 different times.
Of course. Makes sense.
101.5 WORD.
When God created us, He had a purpose for our lives. I'm Alan Jackson. I have the privilege of joining you each weekday to open our Bibles together. The Bible tells us that God has made us what we are. And in our union with Christ Jesus, He has created us for a life of good deeds, which He has already prepared for us to do. Join me and let's see what God has for us today.
A fresh look at Scripture, weekday mornings at 9:30. Alan Jackson Ministries on 101.5 WORD.
Hello?
Hey, stranger.
Oh, hi. Thank goodness it's you. I was afraid to answer the phone.
Why? What's up?
The credit card companies are after me. They want me to make payments and the calls never stop.
Ouch. Been there before, but I got help from Trinity Debt Management.
Trinity?
Yeah, I called and right away Trinity contacted my creditors and got my interest rates cut in half. They ended all the late fees and overlimit charges, and they stopped those annoying phone calls.
Bet that was a relief.
Yep. Then they put me on a plan that consolidated my bills into one easy monthly payment. That way, I paid off my debt fast while saving thousands.
Nice.
Trinity even showed me how to plan and meet a monthly budget. So now I'm debt-free for keeps.
Wow. Do you still have their number?
Sure. Here, write this down and call 1-800-936-5496.
Can you repeat that?
1-800-936-5496. That's 1-800-936-5496.
Volunteering on a 3-day retreat with Kairos Prison Ministry is like having a front row seat to a miracle. Through the friendship and love of Kairos volunteers, the lives of the incarcerated and their families are forever changed. Yours will be too. Teams are assembling now for retreats to SCI Green and Fayette, with training to begin January 28th. Whether you serve inside, outside, or in support, if you have a heart for inmates, this is your opportunity. Click the Word FM logo today at kairospa.org.
Cornerstone Television Network has been sharing the gospel through Christ-centered TV for over 43 years. In 2023, our mission remains the same, but we can't wait to share with you how we're shifting to reach the next generation. Watch Visions of Hope with Keenan Bridges, Coy Barker, Eric Butler, Robert Jeffress, and Candace Smithyman. Tune in January 23rd through 27th, 8 p.m. on Cornerstone Television. That's Verizon Fios Channel 505 or Channel 805 on Comcast Xfinity.
The new year has begun, and the teachers, parents, staff, and students at Eden Christian Academy are excited for what lies ahead. Because every day at Eden is a day for new beginnings, filled with new opportunities, new possibilities to explore and learn new things about God, ourselves, and our world. May your new year be filled with the hope and promise of new possibilities in God, who makes all things new. A message from your friends at Eden Christian Academy at EdenChristianAcademy.org.
Science fiction is now fact. We've been told this for, well, if not a century, certainly decades and decades, about the rise of robotics and more recently the rise of what is known as artificial intelligence.
And we've
AI.
all seen Terminator.
Yeah, or Lost in Space. I mean, it's thrilling in one hand, fascinating, but also terrifying. That AI, I mean, just anytime you look at the news stories now, last week people were talking about Chat GPT, right? Mm-hmm. Already students are using Chat GPT to write papers in school. And school administrators see this and they're flagging this and going, there's no way you wrote this. We can see from the syntax that clearly this is,
doesn't sound like you.
Artificial intelligence here. So this is coming, whether we like it or not. I mean, when you're online and sometimes you click like a news article that's being read to you, it's not a real person. The rise of...
I've never done that.
Haven't you?
No. Is it just a computer voice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people who make their living doing voiceover work...
I absolutely hate that.
That's going to go away. Voiceover talent's going to go away.
Voiceover talent will never go away. That's my theory. Because...
of the complexity and texture of it.
Because the sound... It's like we thought books would go away when like the Kobo and the Kindle came out.
Yeah.
But there's a huge difference between sitting down with a page and sitting down with an electronic reader. I'm not saying that they both don't have their place, because if I'm going on a trip around the world, I'm not going to be taking, 18 hardbacks with me.
But the technology is going to improve.
But the technology's there. But
I mean,
But here's the thing: books haven't gone away.
No, but you're listening to Bono.
Right, I'm listening to Bono on his new Surrender book on Audible. Hearing him tell the story is a little different than Siri telling his story.
Right, but these are the early days.
It is, you're right.
Right? My fear is that, the creativity will be vanquished by AI.
I know.
Right? That we'll be watching actors who are not real people acting in dramas that were not written by real people.
Okay. All right, so let me tell you this story.
Yeah.
Are you ready? A New York rabbi shocked his congregation by delivering a sermon and informing them that the entire text was written by AI. Okay, this is reading from the Daily Mail. This is Rabbi Josh Franklin, who leads the Jewish Center of the Hamptons in East Hampton. He uploaded the sermon onto his website on January 1st. He spoke for 5 minutes. He quoted the Torah. He talked about Joseph's forgiveness, the eventual saving of the Israelites, and talked about the importance of being open and vulnerable, and used references to author Brene Brown, and concluded with a prayer. At the end of the sermon, he asks if anyone in the congregation can guess who wrote it. Some guessed it was his dad, who was a rabbi also. Someone suggested it was the head of the United Synagogue, which is the largest synagogue body in the UK. But then the rabbi says, no, you're all wrong. It was written by Chat GPT, which is the same thing that you brought up, right? He said that in his prompt, he put in a sermon of about 1,000 words with the idea of intimacy and vulnerability and quote Brene Brown. And that's what came out. He said, and everybody was laughing and clapping. He said, you're clapping, but I'm afraid. He said, I thought truck drivers were going to go long before the rabbi in terms of losing our positions to AI. He said, this could wipe out 375 million jobs in a decade. He said, I can't love it because it can't love. It can't show compassion. It can't connect with the community. He said, what we're really doing here in this room is forming relationships. I don't think ChatGPT or any kind of AI is going to replace us, but it will push us. It'll force us to evolve in what we do and what we do best.
So that's
a crazy story.
And here it is. This is just the very beginning of artificial intelligence. I mean, him to say 375 million people will be displaced. So what are those jobs that won't be displaced by AI?
Oh, he's talking about people in radio and probably talking about people who do voiceovers and people who do audiobooks and all that sort of thing.
Well, look at the medical community. I mean, how much of that?
I hadn't even thought of that.
That's all going to disappear, right? I mean, if you're having a kid right now, you go, be a plumber because a robot's not going to take over the plumbing job, or be a woodworker, right? A specialty niche kind of thing. Because what's going to happen that all of us, we will be deemed unnecessary by AI. The fusion of man and machine together. I mean, the futurists are saying it's here, and the fusion of those two things will change humanity. Mm-hmm. The wedding of our flesh with a robotic brain, what will that look like? How will that change the universe? Mm-hmm. And where is God in this?
I think, okay, I want to believe this. And I think it's true. But of course, this is a brave new world. But I can't imagine that any machine is going to be able to replace a person who's in the image of God. I just don't think mechanically, technologically, it's going to be possible. Now, believe me, I know not of what I speak, clearly. But there's just something in me which resists believing that at a certain point there is never going to be that type of replication. Do you think?
I have no idea. But I do know
Don't you have to believe that, though? Don't you think?
Yes, of course. That we are made in the image of God, and God is not a machine.
Am I just whistling in the dark on that?
No. But you look back at 100 years or 200 years ago. Was it 100 years ago? Someone said, well, I guess we've invented just about everything that needs to be invented. Or I guess this is as far as technology is going to go. We are so naive to think that there will be an end or a closure to creativity. And especially with AI, because once AI is out of the proverbial Pandora's box, it will replicate. It'll create things that we can't even imagine right now. And it's going to happen fast. So 25 years from now, I do believe this, that the world will be totally different because of AI than what we envision it as it is now.
Well, computers have totally, you could have said the same thing 100 years ago. You said that when the computer comes into rapid use, it's going to make everything different.
As it has.
And it has made a lot of things different. But it's not like it has revolutionized how we live. But it has not changed humans.
But there's something about a machine thinking on its own, which is going to happen.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Which once that spark of consciousness, however you want to envision
It's not the God image, though. So I just can't buy into the fact that that a human is replaceable.
I don't think a human is replaceable, but I do believe that there will be soon and very soon this melding of the two together. And then once there's the melding of the two, then there could be a separation of the machine itself.
Again, we've all seen Terminator.
Exactly. And I don't know if it's to be feared, but it's certainly going to be.
Well, the rabbi's certainly afraid in the story I told.
Well, maybe we should be afraid. I'll just quickly go back on them. Maybe we should be afraid because it's the possibility of the unknown, of creativity that's unleashed. That's all. It's unleashed. If administrators in school districts now are worried about, faking a term paper, and what's going to happen 50 years, 100 years down the road?
I don't know. But that's for the next generation the next generations to come to grips with. I mean,
and the nature of creativity, because that's what I worry about more than I worry.
Well, listen, if we could have known about the iPhone and what was going to happen, you want to talk about worrying about the death of creativity. But creativity still exists. It's in a different form because of the phone.
Right.
But it has made a huge segment of humans less creative.
Because here's the deal. Because we're still in charge.
Yeah.
But there may be a point where we are no longer in charge.
Okay, but if you were looking at trends of social media over the last 5 years, the question you would ask is, are we in charge? Because I think that's the problem that we're seeing, is that we're really not in charge. Social media is a beast of its own.
Right. But I'm saying in charge of control of
it's
systems that are in place that we regulate.
Well, think about how many systems when you get in an airplane are regulated not by humans, by computers already. Right. I can't, whatever the future holds, the truths of the universe that God has put in place
will still reign.
They're not changing.
I mean, our kids who are now in their early 20s may look back on their early days with longing.
Yeah, for sure.
With we long.
Yes.
Of course, everyone longs for the past generation, right? Growing up.
Yep.
But I truly do believe that what's about to happen is going to be so cataclysmic to humanity.
Okay, but here's the thing. Everybody longs for things about their childhood.
Everybody loves the sound of a train in the distance.
But not because their childhood was so great and because things were so great whenever we were a child. It's the fact that we weren't responsible. We had people around us who were responsible, and we could go to bed at night and not have to, because somebody was going to, if there was a flood, somebody was going to fix it.
My dad's there.
Right.
My dad will take care of that.
Right. That's why we look back with such longing on the days of our childhood. It's not because everything was great when I was born, the year I was born, and it's not because everything was great the year you were born.
No. What did you say the other day about death and the good place? Quote.
Yeah.
I thought about that over the weekend.
Yeah, there's a really good quote. The Good Place was I think it was an ABC produced sitcom that was out about 5 years ago.
Is it Ted Danson?
Ted Danson, Kristen Bell. I thought it would be stupid and offensive, and it was neither. And it was very funny and thought-provoking. But one of the things Kristen Bell says, she's explaining to an angel in the show what it's like to be human. And she said, well, when you're human, no matter how happy you are, you're a little bit sad because you know you're going to die.
After you told me that, I saw this in my son's life. I can't believe I saw this. I saw the moment when he discovered the notion of death.
How old was he?
4. It stopped him cold in his tracks. I wish I would have had a transcript of how this, but what I remember is him pausing and a stillness about him as he tried to wrap his mind around, I'm not going to be here. You're not going to be here. It was a shocking moment in my life.
Yeah.
Things change.
Things change.
Life is short. We will soon be deeply replaceable.
All of us. But if we believe that humans are created in the image of God, then nobody, not one single human being who's ever lived, is ever truly replaceable.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-940-6161. That's 1-800-940-6161. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-940-6161. SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Volunteering on a 3-day retreat with Kairos Prison Ministry is like having a front row seat to a miracle. Through the friendship and love of Kairos volunteers, the lives of the incarcerated and their families are forever changed. Yours will be too. Teams are assembling now for retreats to SCI Green and Fayette, with training to begin January 28th. Whether you serve inside, outside, or in support, if you have a heart for inmates, this is your opportunity. Click the Word FM logo today at kairospa.org.
During the pandemic, they closed our churches down.
Suicide rates are exploding. Drug and alcohol use is ravaging America, and there's no church to bring the hope.
See the new documentary, Super Spreader, how a stand against religious tyranny brought hope to a country in crisis.
Christian singer and activist Sean Foyt leading what's called Let Us Worship.
Here's a move of God that's going to change America.
Watch Super Spreader, available now at salemnow.com. salemnow.com.
Cornerstone Television Network has been sharing the gospel through Christ-centered TV for over 43 years. In 2023, our mission remains the same, but we can't wait to share with you how we're shifting to reach the next generation. Watch Visions of Hope with Keenan Bridges, Coy Barker, Eric Butler, Robert Jeffress, and Candace Smithyman. Tune in January 23rd through 27th, 8 p.m. on Cornerstone Television. That's Verizon Fios Channel 505 or Channel 805 on Comcast Xfinity.
Geneva College understands that you're passionate about your life's work. Through Geneva's graduate degree programs, you'll be equipped to fully pursue your faith life calling, excelling in your field, and moving forward for a purpose. In your studies and in your work, you'll be challenged to seek God's design in all things, integrating faith and life, aspiring, leading, and achieving your goals for all that you're created to be and do. You were made for this. Visit geneva.edu/graduate to learn more.
Okay, well, speaking of AI, there's an article in today's PG. It's a CMU spinoff, and they've got a product called Moonwalkers, which are being billed as the world's fastest shoes. It allows people to walk at the speed of a run. Walking at the speed of a run means tooling around at about 7 miles per hour, or about 250% faster than ordinary walking. This is going to hit the consumer market apparently in March of this year, and it's being produced here in the city's East End. Through AI, there's eight wheels on the bottom of these shoes.
Okay.
And through AI, they're able to navigate cracks in the sidewalk, puddles. It slows down from a full run to a complete stop within 3 seconds.
Can you imagine how many falls there are going to be?
I don't know.
I mean, can you picture wearing, so it's basically your shoes are propelled.
Yes, right.
So it would be like rollerblades, kind of, if rollerblades had some propulsion with them.
They said the shoes weigh about a gallon of milk.
Each of them?
Yeah, but because of AI and because
that
of
won't be cumbersome or anything.
The speed, the combined weight of the shoes, which have been road tested on people aged 15 to 70, is comparable to a gallon of milk. Once you start walking, that weight just disappears, said Joseph Yang, 26, Shift Robotics lead software engineer. Quote, if one of the shoes thinks you're going too fast, it communicates with the other and tells it to slow down. The software is embedded so everybody gets an individualized experience. They spend nothing on advertising because word of mouth and Wired magazine says these are going to be like revolutionary. The sweet spot for Moonwalkers, over 600 pairs have been pre-ordered online, $1,400 a pair, are urban commuters who have to get to the office from the subway, bus stop, or parking areas. The real home run is in densely packed urban areas.
Can you imagine how much these people will be hated by the average walker?
I love it. I love the idea. The shoes are easily removed and stowed in a backpack. That's the real value proposition.
No way.
How about people who have disabilities? You pop those things on and you're flying.
But how are you? You can't convince me that people aren't falling all over the place. You know what it's like to put skates on. Imagine if your skates were propelled.
They're saying this is not like skates. I love the idea of it. Believe me, I'm super excited by this.
Come on.
I am. Are you kidding me? I'm super excited by this.
Why are you excited by that? Because so you can get places faster.
Because of the mobility issues. Boom, you're going, you're flying, you're moving around.
But at what cost? Well, first of all, it cost $1,400.
Exactly.
But I just can't believe that regular people will be able to manipulate those in any sense.
If they're going to market with these things, they've got to be road tested. Insurance has got to sign off on this stuff. Believe me.
This makes sense.
AI's here.
All right.
Changed. We just talked about the melding of man and machine.
Right.
Here it is. It's the very beginning
All right,
of
I'll try
it.
to keep an open mind.
All right.
Okay.
Anyway, AI's not going to replace your prayer life.
No.
Say your prayers. Say your prayers. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.
The Ride Home with John and Kathy, a production of Salem Media Group.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. The culture of death is expanding its reach. The FDA just issued what it calls a permanent rule giving the approval for retail pharmacies to prescribe abortion pills. What that means is that CVS and Walgreens may now be dispensing mifepristone, that is to say, the abortion pill. The availability of those pills at the big chains and so-called brick-and-mortar pharmacies, well, that's a game changer. This was not imaginable back in 1973. Today, you need to know more than half of all abortions in the United States happen not in an abortion clinic, but rather by means of taking a so-called abortion pill. Let me state clearly what many of you, I'm sure, already recognize. The moral equation does not change whether the agent of death is now a chemical or a pill or a surgical abortion. Pro-abortion advocates cheered this move by the FDA, saying this decision is good so far as it goes, but it doesn't go far enough. The culture of death just under